Computer, yes. Okay. Yeah, so recording is started. Good morning, all participants. I, Jaimangal Singh, founder and CEO at Retron and CTO at Stockity and Mass Energy. I welcome all the participants in our STTP program on data statistics and science with MATLAB. So in today's agenda, we will be looking at data visualization techniques, and we will be working on image processing also, how we can import the composite image and do some algebra operation over it. And later on that can be used as a kind of a filter or object detection. That also we will look into it. And after that, we will be covering one more topic, that is curve fitting technique, which is widely used technique for data, some meaning extraction from the data. Okay. So first we will look at the data visualization and the curve fitting in the first half session. And the second half session, we will be completely devoting it to the image processing application. So this was the topic which was left yesterday. That is the plot and the subplot. Okay, so just an overview. In a plot, basically what happens, MATLAB gives you a figure window in which the graph of the required data is plotted against some variable. But in subplot, what happens? In the same graph paper, for the comparison analysis, what you do, you plot a smaller chunk of that graph into a squeezed size. Okay, so say suppose in the right side of the image, you can see there are total, 1 minute, yeah. So there are total 3 columns, okay, and 4 rows, okay. So we have divided the entire graph paper into 4 by 3, okay. And now in each quadrant, I can plot a different graph, okay. So that in a single graph paper, it can give me a relatively lot of idea about the entire system and process or mathematical model that we are working. So first we will look into this part, and then we will move towards the curve fitting part. Window alt. I hope my screen is visible to everyone.
Yes, yes.
Yes, sir.
Your screen is visible.
Okay.
Participants के phone mute नहीं है. Please mute. Everyone, please mute your phone.
Okay, I'll mute everyone from
Yeah,
here
yeah.
only. Yeah. Okay. So clear all output. Yes. Okay. So say suppose for the plot, I'll take a simple example. Say x is equal to independent x. Here is an independent variable. So say I just give it a range of, say, x will start from 1 and it will go up to 10. Okay. And over this, I compute a y variable that is nothing, just a simple sin x. Okay. And in order to plot this, I will use a plot command. See, in symbolic variable, we were using ezplot command. But in case where we have a definite value,
Sir, Jaimangal sir,
yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Your code screen is not visible. Code
Okay,
screen,
okay.
writing the code, that is not visible.
Sure. Let me share the entire screen. Okay. Now it is visible, sir?
Yes, now it is visible.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, sir. So here in line number 1, we have defined one variable x, which takes value from 1, 2, 3, 4 up to 10. And on that, each value of x, we have computed y. So y here also attains the definite value. Okay, say suppose if I put this one into comment and run it. So here we can see that both x and y have a definite values. And now we want to plot. So in the yesterday's session, we have seen like how we can use ezplot, where we don't have to define the particular values. Okay, it by default goes from -2 pi to 2 pi range. Okay, but here when we have the definite values corresponding to each independent variable, then in that case we use generally plot command, plot 2D, plot 3D, mesh plot. So that we will see further. Okay, so first I'll go with the basics. So here I want to plot x and y. So where first argument will be my independent parameter, okay, which do not depend upon anything. And the second one will be my function. So here y is the function of x. Okay. So if I plot this one, run. So let me show you the result, how it look like. So you can see here, the graph look like oscillating, but it is not very smooth. Okay, and we can see like it is some kind of a polygon. Okay, rather being a smooth sine graph. The reason for this error is because if you look at towards the x, then you can see that x is having a value 1, 2, 3. Okay, so there is always a jump of 1. Okay, so in order to make a very smooth graph, basically what happens, any mathematical technique or any graphical approach which we use, it generally connect the 2 point with a straight line. Okay, so that is what is happening here. So what I will do here, I'll plot another x and y with say marker. Okay, and I put O as a marker so that I can show you like exactly how it like where are those points. So here you can see this red circle, these are the uh, values of y which are evaluated at that particular x. So MATLAB just connect those points with a straight line. So if we can reduce the separation or the distance between the delta x, so the curve can be very much smooth. Okay, so for that, what we will do here, we will pass the jump argument as 0.01, okay, or 0.1 only. Say, suppose if I pass that, next value of x will be incremented to 0.1, not by 1. Okay, and now if I run it, then I can see a pretty good graph. Okay, with more smoothing nature. Now, say suppose this was just a simple one graph, and say suppose I want to give a description in the x and the y axis because I want to write a code which I can run remotely also for the automation part. Though this I can go into the figure window and do the editing, but that approach I don't want to use because that will be a manual effort. Okay, so first I will show the shortcut method also, and then we will move towards the code part. Okay, yeah. So for the shortcut, what anybody can do, they just pop out this figure window and you can click on the open property inspector. Once you click in the open property inspector, then you can do many things just with a click operation. So right now MATLAB is opening this property inspector. Okay, let me do it on a full screen. Yeah. So say suppose first I want to give the x-axis name. Oh, they have changed the UI part. Okay, menu bar, figure, position, x-stick label. Okay, they have changed the text. So say suppose if I want to add any x label, okay, like description about the x-axis, then I have to go in the x label, and there I can give the name in the string part. So say this is denoting the time interval. Okay. So similarly, I can do with the y-axis label also. But this will be a manual operation. Okay, and so it won't be automatic because for each changes you have to go to the figure parent and manually do it. So rather we will take a programming approach. So for x label, what we can use, we can write a x label command and give the instruction. Say this will be my time. So I'll write time, give it a arrow direction, and if I want to mention some unit, say the time is in second, I'll put this way. Okay, to give the information about y label, I can write y label. Give it, say it is representing the position in terms of meter. And run it. And if I want to give a title over this, so I can use a title command and give the title of this graph. So this is harmonic oscillation, like that. So this way I can give as much information about the graph and all these things. Now we will consider the case of the subplot, like where we use the subplot. Say for the independent parameter, which is X here, let me change because I'm using time. So I'll use a better, this thing, symbol. So say with respect to time parameter, I want to see the behavior for other functions also. Okay, so in that case, I have to go for a subplot in which in a single graph paper, I can see the comparative, this thing, variation in the graph. So in order to use subplot, first I have to tell MATLAB how many plots I want and in which fashion, like row and column. Okay, so say suppose I want a vertical graph only. Okay, so in that case, I will divide the graph paper like this, subplot. So if I want vertical, it means I just need some number of rows. So say suppose I want to make 4 number of graphs. Okay, so the row will be 4 because it is vertical. So the column will be 1, and in the say first one quadrant, that is the top quadrant, I want to plot this sine graph. Okay, so it will be plotted like this. Now if I run it, so you can see it is taking some smaller top area because the entire graph paper is now squeezed or divided into 4 categories. And similarly, I'll use this command, and here I'll plot the other graph, that is say y with respect to cos t. This one I'm going to put it into the second quadrant, then say put the in third quadrant, I want to plot the sine into cos t. So this one I want to plot. So because it is multiplication, so dot multiplication I have to do because it is a matrix here. Okay, so I want to do array operation, like the element of 1 will be multiplied to the element of one of the other, this thing, sine into cos. So for that I'm using dot rather just a matrix multiplication. And control C. And at last I will plot the 10 graph. So say this one, I'll make it tan of t. Yeah, and now I'll run this section. Okay, so here if I take this graph paper out, so you can see a pretty good comparison over the entire function. Okay, so first one is the sine, the other one is your cos, and then the multiplication of sine and cos, and the last one is the tan. Okay, so because in the first part only I have described, okay, what is the title and the position and the time, but in other also I can do the same for like giving the information about each graph, what actually they are doing. Okay, so same code will be applied, just you have to change the title names if you want. So I hope there is no problem with the subplot. Let me open the chat so I can see if any participant have any doubt or not. Yeah, okay. Sir, in line number 2, y is equal to sine t, it's correct or not? Sine t, it's correct. Sir, once again, subplot explain, please. Okay. Okay, this one, yeah. Here it should be sine t only, correct. Actually what happened now, like before earlier I just calculated over x. Okay, and in RAM memory, if I show you, then here you can see the value of x is also retained. Okay, so in RAM memory the x is also there and a new t is also created, but both t and x are equal, so that's why MATLAB didn't throw any error. Okay, here, so your question was right, if I didn't have declared X earlier, then might at line number 2, it can throw some error. But because I have created X and in memory, the value was same, like what is the value of T. So it didn't throw any error. Okay, so yeah, it should be T here rather than X. Yeah, see, what is the difference between figure command is this. Figure command always gives you a new graph paper, okay? But here, why we are using subplot? To understand this, again, I will take you to this presentation. So see here, the case, okay? Both, you can see in front of your screen that there are two graphs, okay? So one graph contain two plots superimposed on each other, okay? So that is on a single graph paper. But on the other, if you look at, then it contain lot many graphs, right? Okay, so that we can do with the help of subplot. So subplot basically gives you a feature in which you can divide the entire graph paper into a smaller section for figures, okay, where you can plot individual or custom graph on that segment or quadrant, okay. So that is the main purpose of using subplot. Okay, so generally subplot is used for like where you want to do the comparative analysis over different parameter, okay. Yeah. Voice not audible. Is my voice not audible, Meena ma'am?
Yeah. नहीं नहीं आपका आ रही है आवाज आ रही है मिस्टर
Okay.
Tanula. Yeah, you can audible yes.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah. So we'll continue. Yeah.
Audible. Yes, you can continue. You can continue.
Okay. So that was the
Continue,
sole
sir.
purpose
It's a
of
very good
using.
presentation. Very good.
Yeah. So that was the sole purpose of using subplot. Now, one participant asked like, what about the figure? Okay. So say suppose if I use a figure keyword here, okay. Now I'll show you what will happen. So figure tells MATLAB that it has to plot in a new graph paper. So if I plot, say plot t comma t square, t dot square I have to do, because t is a matrix here, so I want to do array operation, not matrix multiplication. So dot powers. Okay, so basically I'm making a square graph. Now if I run this one, so what will happen that you can see here, MATLAB just plot it on a new graph paper. But if I comment or just remove the figure, okay, like you can put it into comment using this comment feature. Now, if I run it, then you will see that it will override the last graph, okay, which is supposed to be for 10, because here I have declared it that at the fourth quadrant, I have to plot 10. But after that, I again use a plot command. So this last plot command will override this previous plot command, okay. So in order that this thing not happen, we use a figure command in which MATLAB understand that whatever is written after the figure word, that has to be plotted in a new graph paper. Okay. Yeah. So again, I will run it and you will see that this time 10 is plotted here, but this t square is plotted in a separate graph paper. Okay. Now say suppose, now I want to control the range also. Okay. Because in this case, I have plotted from 1 to this thing 10. Okay. And imagine I want to see the graph in a kind of a range also. So for range, I can use a square bracket, or I can use a x-axis command also. That will also work. So let me take the x-axis command first. X-axis. And inside this, I'll pass the range. Say suppose my range is from -10 to 10. And now I'll run this code. Okay, sorry, it's not x-axis, just axis command is fine. Okay, and I'll run this. Let me apply the section breaker, so unnecessary I don't have to compute it from the top. Just the last part I'll calculate. So what it is saying, vector must be 6, 4, 8. Vector must be 648 elements and axis. Let me try it here. This 10 to 10 run section. Data must be single input of 5 values or one or more pair of x and y. So y also it is asking. Okay, fine. So I give y information as 0 to 100 and run this section. No. So we have some problem here. Let me check that whether in MATLAB they have updated the syntax, because MATLAB is updating itself in every version. So let me check about the access command, that whether it is same or not what we have used till MATLAB 2018. So there is no such command with x-axis. Okay. Now I'll check with the plot command and go through the documentation, like what they have used for controlling the access. So I'll click on the more help browser. So this way, like anybody can, if they stuck in some problem, you just read the problem and then you can use this approach. You just click and open the documentation in an browser, and here you will find all the relevant specifications to it. So we will see here. Okay, no, this we are more interested in the X part. These are the marker information. No, not this one. Yeah, so it says that no, it is again controlling for the marker size only. Color, no. Okay, so creating this thing, plot cosine, marker, plot circle, line color, black, yellow, line. Okay, line style they have mentioned, marker they have mentioned. But what about the information controlling the access? Okay. Okay, there is no such information about the x-axis. Okay, so just give me a minute. Let me check with the 2020 versions documentation. Control x-axis range in MATLAB. Okay, yeah. So the first link is of MATLAB documentation file. So here this is that they are using X limit, okay, not as a X range, rather they are using xlim command, okay. So this one we will try and check in our documentation, in our program code. So instead of using this, I have to use X limit command, and here I can pass it in a form of say -10 to 10. Yeah. So this works. So in MATLAB 2020 onwards, when I used MATLAB 2013 and 15, there was the x-axis command, but from I guess 18 or 16 onwards, we have to use x limit command in order to change the axis of y-axis or x-axis. Okay. So I hope we are clear with the plot and subplot. And now I will discuss with the three-dimensional plot. Yeah. Three-dimensional plot, 3D plot. Okay. So for 3D plot, either we can use plot3 command, or if it is a kind of a surface or a kind of a mesh plot, then for that, we can use surf or mesh command. Okay, so first I will go for the 3D surface layer plot. So for that, let me make a uniform grid distribution in X and Y using mesh grid command. Mesh grid. Say I want to start from -pi That will go for 0.1 interval to pi range, from minus pi to 2 pi. And let me check this. Yeah. So it gives me a grid distribution, uniform grid distribution. So this one you can correlate as a kind of a chessboard. In chessboard, you have a grid of 8 by 8. Okay. So for each row, okay, you have correspondingly 8 values of x with respect to every value of y. And in vertical direction, you have 8 values of y also. Okay, so it is just making a grid of 63 cross 63 size. And over this, say suppose, because it is a rectangle in a Cartesian coordinate, it is a distribution. So what I want to do, I want to plot a cone. Okay, so I know that if I look a cone in a 2D, okay, whose shadow just falls on a wall, so it gives me a line. Okay, so a line equation always goes like this: y is equal to mx plus c. Okay, so this is a straight line in a two-dimensional plane. Straight line in a two-dimensional plane. But what if that straight line, if I just rotate it at the center point, it will become a cone. Okay. So for that, what I have to do, I will transform the xy into a polar coordinate using the radius calculation. So r stands for radius here. It will be square root sqrt of x dot square plus y dot square. So this will give me a radius, because it doesn't matter in which direction we are going, the cone height will only depend upon the distance from the origin that we are moving. Okay, so now I want to calculate the z. So here z will be replaced with y. So okay, so whatever equation I have written here, that same I will going to use. So in replace of y, I have used z, and instead of x, I'll use this r. Okay, so say suppose it will go like this: r plus 2. Okay, where 2 is a scalar, and the coefficient I'm taking as 1, so it will be a 45-degree slope. Okay, and I'll use mesh z command. Now I'll plot this one, run this section. So here we have the cone. Okay, so now I'll just rotate it because it's a three-dimensional curve. So you can see here, so this way we can transform any this thing 2D feature into a 3D if it has an axis of symmetry using the polar coordinate method. Okay, and let me plot one more. This will be in a figure, in a separate figure window. I'll plot surf z. So surf is also do the same thing, but in case of surface, it will connect or fill the gap, because right now whatever you are saying, it is a kind of a mesh. So you can treat it as like you are making a cone with a mosquito net. Okay, so where you can only see the lines which are interconnecting with each other. But in surface Z, it will create the surface also. Yeah. So here we have two graphs. So one graph you can see, it is just transparent kind of a thing, just with grid lines, and the other one is having the surface. Okay. So same thing, you can like play with all these things. Like if I use sine r, okay, like a decreasing amplitude of sinusoid, or say I will take cosine, because cosine is at maximum at 0, and dot divide, so it will be a decreasing amplitude. So it will become a water wave, which like if somebody throws a pebble in a water, then the thing it will going to acquire, it will behave like that. Okay. Okay, I will increase some amplitude here by multiplying some factor. So the number of ripples rise. Yeah. So here you can see the ripples effect, and the ripples magnitude or the amplitude is decreasing as it is progressing away from the origin. Okay. So this way, like you can have a 2-dimensional, 3-dimensional plot. Okay, so now I'll check for any doubt from any participant. Yesterday's second session recording, okay, no. Good morning to all. Yesterday at understand. So we can use a 3D plot. Then we can supposed to take 3 coordinate, but you are taking only 2 coordinate. No, it is not like that. I'm taking 2 coordinate. I'm taking 3 coordinate only. See here, because X and Y, I have already declared, okay, that they are a kind of a square grid. So I have only calculated Z, okay, like how the Z will depend upon X and Y, which in my case are independent, okay, and I'm plotting Z. So by default, it will take, because it is a 3-dimensional plot, so it will take the X also, Y information also, okay. But yeah, say suppose I want to use for a plot 3 command. So there I have to mention it in that chronological order. So I'll take one 3D plot example also and say suppose it goes like this, that say I just make one, I'll take that case. Okay. Yeah. So here I'm taking a new case, a parametric kind of a modeling. So here my t variable start from 1 and it will go up to 10 with an increment of say 0.1. Yeah. Now x is sine t and y is cos t. Okay. So I know if I just plot x and y, it will give me a circle, right? But here, what I want to make a spring. Okay. So it should increase with some, this thing, with some elevation and say, okay. So first let me check with this plot x and y. Somebody's mic is on. Yeah. Okay. So now in order to make a 3D plot, as I said, what is my sole purpose is here that I want as it just taking this thing or moving from one side, the elevation should increase. Okay. So here I have to make something that depends upon the Z, the Z direction should also change in a linear fashion. Okay, so here I make Z as T only. Okay, so it is quite depending linearly on the T parameter. Okay, and now I want to plot all these three, X and Y and Z. Okay, so I'll use plot 3 command, and here I'll pass the information X, Y, and Z. Okay, and run this section. So here you can see it is a kind of a spring. Okay, oh, 1 minute. Yeah. So let me move it in a 3D fashion so that you can see it's a kind of a spring only. So you can see here because Z is depending linearly. So I hope now it is clear. Okay. So any doubt up to here, like in the data visualization part for, so as we have seen yesterday, we were using EZ plot, but here how this session is different because here the plot which we are plotting, both X and Y and Z, whatever parameter we want to plot, they must have a definite value, not a kind of a expression and something like that. So if in your case, if it is holding some expression, better you go for the EZ plot rather than using plot method. Okay. So this is a complete description. Yeah. So let's again check with the PPT. So much what we have covered. So data visualization, this thing is there. Yeah. So now, okay. So now I'll show you the curve fitting problem. Okay. Curve fitting. Say suppose I'm doing a lab experiment, okay, where I'm taking time as a parameter, or say if I'm doing a Ohm's law experiment. So there voltage is my independent parameter, and I want to see in that particular material what is the amount of current whenever I'm changing at particular rate the voltage. Okay, so that is my objective. So here voltage is my independent parameter, which goes like this: from 10 volt to 220 volt, with a jump of, say, at every 10 volt interval, I'm conducting this experiment. Okay. And here in lab, I want to find out I. Okay. Because I'm doing experiment, so obviously through the machine, whatever data it gives me, that I will record it. So let me make it short only, 100 volt only, so that 10 this thing. And we know that any machine like gives you some error, because no system in present works in an ideal fashion. So there will be some error in the machine. Okay. But you want to find out the exact what is the resistance, okay, to or say to a higher accuracy. So in order to solve this problem, what you do, I'll first take the dummy data for the current. Okay, so say suppose at 10 volt, I get a current of 1.1 ampere, and then 2.3. I'll add manual some error. Okay, 3.2, 4.5, 5.2, 6.3, 7.4, 8.5, 9.4, and 10.2. So these are my dummy data related to the experiment. Okay. So if I run this one, I'll get that for every 10 value of voltage, I have 10 value of current. Okay. So now in order to find a accurate linear this thing, uh, physics of it, or what will be the value of resistance, okay, V is equal to IR, and I want to find out the slope, that is the R, the value of R here. Okay. So in order to solve all such experimental problem, we generally use curve fitting problem, or curve fitting problem we use there also, where we want to find out a long-term trend or a general trend in that hidden data. Okay, like once we will be working on the large data set from tomorrow onward, we'll be using curve fitting in order to find out the general trend hidden in that data. Okay, so right now I'll take this as a very simple example to make you understand. So I can call the curve fitting tool with the cf tools command, cf tool, or it is cf tool, and I'll run this code. So now MATLAB will open a toolbox, which is called the curve fitting toolbox. Okay. So here, what you have to do, I'll just make it to full screen. So here in the X data, you have to load the independent parameter, which in my case experiment, it was the voltage. Okay. And in the next, I will include this one, current I part in the Y. Okay. So by default, MATLAB is set into a polynomial mode of 1 degree. Okay. So first I will explain you the left side, this column, what this information is all about. So here it says that if I'm using a physical model where the voltage, sorry, because I is my output, so it should be I here, and X is my voltage, so it should be voltage here. Okay, so the relation will become V by R. So I have to find 1 by R here. Okay, So here it says that if I'm using this as a physical model where I will be equals to P1 into voltage plus P2, some constant or some offset, then then in that case, what will be the coefficient value of P1 and P2? Okay, but here we know that we are conducting a Ohm's law, right? So we don't require an inbuilt mathematical model, rather we require our own custom model. So how we can do that one? Okay, so in order to do that, what you have to do, just go in the mathematical model section here, okay? Just click on the polynomial and there, if you scroll it to the up, you will see a custom equation, okay? And here we will write our equation. So the general equation is in the format of y is equal to some function of x. So we know that here x is our voltage, okay? And we know that we want to find out the value of R, which is like 1 divided by R, say a small this thing. I'll put it into bracket. This should be multiplied with the voltage. Sorry, this should be multiplied with, yeah, sorry, x, which is x here, okay? So now here I can find easily the value of the resistance in that system with the accuracy of with 95% confidence in that result. And here the overall accuracy of this model is 99.72%. So here R square and adjusted R square gives you an accuracy result, okay, in terms of uh, percentage. Okay, so right now it is scaled in 0 and 1. So in terms of percentage, you can multiply with 100 and whatever number you get, that gives you an understanding of the how much this linear model is fitting to the experimental data. So here it fits 99.72%, okay? And the RMSE is root mean square error, okay? Because we can see there are some points which have more deviation from the true trend, okay? So there will be some error. So it is like squared and summed and then taken the square root. So that's why it is root mean square error, okay? And why this approach is taken, I'll explain. Mm, yeah. See, basically what happens if I take a straight line, okay, and if I make some dummy points, say 1 point here, okay, one experimental point here, yeah, here. So there can be chance that the distance of this one, and say suppose there is one more error, okay, okay, so the distance between this one delta D1, delta D2, D1, D2, and delta D3. So if I'm calculating based upon only the decision where the a positive difference will be taken as positive and negative difference will be taken as negative, then there can be chance that the sum of all this, like delta D1 plus delta D2 and plus delta D3 can be 0. But that 0 doesn't mean that all these 3 points lie on the straight line, because we can see they are obviously they are far from the points, okay? But if we take the square of each difference, then it will give only the positive value. So D3 will also be positive, delta 2 will also be positive, the square of delta 2, and delta D1 will also be positive. And then if you take the square root, it will give a much more information about the like variation from the true model, okay? Now, so that case was very simple for the straight line. Now, what if in MATLAB generally, like MATLAB has already created the mathematical model for most of the physics that we generally use in our engineering. Okay, see, suppose I want to have an exponential nature. I want to fit an exponential graph over this experimental data, and I want to see what is the level of accuracy. Okay, so here the nature of exponential is a into e powers b into x. Okay, so if I use this as a physics or a physical model for this experiment, then in that case it gives me that the overall efficiency or the accuracy level will be only 93% to the experimental data, what we have observed. Okay, so basically we generally use this method in order to check like whatever physics model we are uh, making, or whatever is our hypothesis, how much it correlates to our experiment. Okay, if it shows a very good correlation, then it can be accepted. But if it shows very poor correlation, then obviously we have to modify our physical model. So that is the sole purpose of using curve fitting. So curve fitting, like in backend, it does the optimization and find out the best possible curve. Because if the same example, like the polynomial, if I take it, yeah, this polynomial, so there can be infinite number of straight line that can possibly fit to this experimental data. But out of all those infinite number of straight lines, there will be only one straight line which will be having least amount of error as per the experimental point. So that perfect or that best straight line, MATLAB tries to find it for you. Okay, which we generally don't do because it requires a lot of statistical mathematical model to perform over it, like calculating the like all these things, standard deviation and error calculation, and then finding out the least error graph. So that one, it automatically do it for you. So similarly, I can test with the other polynomial also, like if I want to fit a 3-degree polynomial to the same, then what will happen? I can see the overall accuracy will be just same, or in general, it increases as you increase the number of polynomial. So any doubt up to here? Meanwhile, I'll explain with the other this thing also. The exponential part we have seen. Now, if I want to fit a Fourier graph, then the general equation of Fourier of 1 degree is like this: a0 plus a1 cos x plus omega plus b1 sine x omega. So in this case also, it gives a very good correlation. Okay. I hope now the noise problem is solved. Kindly
Yes,
explain the curve fitting for a nonlinear equation also. Yeah, sure. Now what I will do, I'll take some random data and there we will try to fit and see, because right now I have taken the linear model. So let's take some random data. Okay, for that interval only. So for random data, I'll use a random function. Okay, and here I say, I want to take, it should be 1 cross 10. It means 1 row and 10 column. So 1 cross 10. Okay. And this random number will be generated between 0 and 1. Okay. So what I will do, I'll multiply that with 10 and let's see. Run. 1 minute. Yeah. So here we have totally a random number. Okay. It is not linear in nature. It is quite non-linear in nature. And on this random data, I want to fit like what mathematical model can fit over it. Okay. Or if you have some non-linear experimental result, so you can pass it to me. I can show with a live session only. Okay. But right now, for example, we treated this one because this random function is totally stochastic in nature, totally random. So we cannot predict like what physical model will be best. So here I loaded the value of X again. And here we can see like the MATLAB, whatever it generated, the random points are in black dots. And we are taking a Fourier curve, so which shows a very poor efficiency. Like here we can see the value of R square is only 0.46. Okay. So obviously this mathematical model fails. Now, if I want to plot exponential over the entire, that also gives a very poor correlation. If I go for a polynomial, then you can see if I take a polynomial of 3 degree, then it gives me a overall 9% efficiency. But if I increase it to say 8, then in that case, it is giving me 93% accuracy of this polynomial curve over this one. Or if I take 7 also, yeah, 7 is also showing 75% of this thing fitting with the, and sum of signs, the other model. So this is also showing a poor result only, not possible. Yeah, so these are not possible here. So in case of sum of sign, if I use a 3-degree physical model, then that is giving us a very good result with the overall accuracy above 90%. Okay. And later on, we can use this one as a kind of a function also. So in MATLAB, whatever you are doing in a toolbox, you can later on export it into a kind of a custom function. So say suppose, like, I'll go back with the previous example because it was very simple to understand for everybody rather than this nonlinear model. So if I have this same problem, I'll run this section, I'll load this I, okay, and say, I'll take polynomial only, polynomial of 1 degree, and say here target is I want to know the value of P1 and the constant part without doing all this thing manually. Okay, because here in this case you can see if you're using a toolbox, then you have to manually open the toolbox, manually feed the data, and then you have to note down all these values P1 and P2. But this operation you can automate it using MATLAB. How? I'll tell you. You just go into the file, and here you just click on the generate code. Now MATLAB will create an entire algorithm for you. Okay, and the result will be it will contain the value of P1 and P2, the coefficient, and the accuracy level. Okay, based upon the data, it will take V and I as an input, where V is the voltage and I is the current. Okay, so V you can treat it as kind of an input, and I is the output. Okay, so now MATLAB writes the complete algorithm for you and gives you a ready-made function. So this function, first you save it before using. So I'll save it in SIRT Bhopal folder. And now I can directly use that function without opening all these things. So I'll copy this top line in which I'll explain what it is. So this one are my variables which will be assigned by the output of this function, create fit. So create fit is a mathematical function created by MATLAB for our purpose, which we have assigned it for a linear fit problem. Okay, and it takes the parameter V as input and I also as an input. Okay, and based upon it, it will give us the result. So now I'll run this section and show you what output we are getting. So you can see here that we are getting now the result in a fit result P1 dot P2. So in order to find the slope value, I can write it like this because fit is a kind of a structure. So I'll use a dot notation in order to extract the particular value. So I'm interested in the P1 value and the P2 value. So dot P2, that's all we have to do. And here you can see we have the answer. So P1 is 0.10, that is the slope, and P2 is the constant part is 0.213. Okay, so this method can be applied over the data, say in the kind of a stocks. Let me show you trade view. In data analytics, we generally use this approach to find the long-term trend that is hidden inside the data. And say I go to charts. So now in this case, if I want to find what is the trend of the stock right now, whose daily variation or daily stock price is jumping like this, so what is the long-term trend or a general trend? Okay, so what you have to do, you have to feed all these values of the stock, okay, from a particular day to particular day, say last 2-month data you are putting it, and with a curve fitting you can find out the hidden general trend of it. Okay, like if it is rising, then what is the like whether it is a steep rise or a shallow rise. Okay, so as the magnitude of m increases, so it will denote the steep or the spike kind of a case or a high rise condition. If the magnitude of the slope m is like close to zero, then it is a shallow rise. Okay, so thereby you can uh, make your own risk analysis kind of a program that will predict the risk factor involved in decision making factor. Okay, so that also we will be seeing later on as a kind of a example in our session. So up to here, do anybody have any doubt? See, the coding approach I'll recommend always. Why? Because the purpose of MATLAB or any programming language is only for automation purpose. Okay, we don't want that a technical expert person should be sitting in front of the computer and doing all this thing manually. So that's why we are creating the entire script that will automatically take out the information and give us a particular result. Okay, so in order to automate everything, how one can extract the data from the trading site to MATLAB. Okay, that one you can do using image processing also, or there are some sites which give you data in Excel format or CSV format. So that also I'll explain you tomorrow, I guess. Like image processing I'll discuss today, and tomorrow I'll explain the data import via CSV, DAT, TXT, or Excel. So that I will cover. How to import Excel file in MATLAB. Yeah, that I'll be giving much time over that part only in tomorrow's session. How can we compute the other parameter like sum of square error, R square, or RMSE? Okay, so you just have to use this GUF, that is the feature of the output feature. Say suppose if I want to extract the sum of error, okay, so I'll write GUF because it is stored in a GUF structure variable, okay, and I'll write GUF SSE, that is the sum of square. And now if I run it, then you will see the GUF SSE is 0.1435, which is same as sum of square errors. Okay, so this way you can use it. Specify the path to send a plot in another drive. And RMSE also you can do with a similar method. RMSE. Okay, so with this method, see, whenever your data is in structure field, okay, so you can extract the particular field with a dot notation. You just have to type the name of that field after dot, and that's all. Is there any connection between MATLAB and Mathematica? No, they are totally mathematical computation software which are developed by independent organization. Like MATLAB is developed by the MathsWorks company and Mathematica is developed by some another company. But you don't have to worry about like what if I'm working on Python or MATLAB or R, you don't have to worry about, because the result you can easily export between all this platform. They are kind of a cross, they support cross platform import and export. So you don't have to worry about. Can we find analytical solution using MATLAB? Yes, you can find analytical solution also. Okay. Okay, now I'll give some time over the basics of data type in MATLAB, so that like later on when we'll be working on the data analysis and statistics, it will help us a lot. Yeah. So, data types. Suppose A is 1, okay, then B is equal to JAI, C is equal to J, K is equal to categorical, 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 JAI, M is equal to 2.5. Wind dot power is equal to 200. Wind dot cost is equal to 10. Wind dot company is equal to Retron. Okay. Now I'll run this code and then I'll explain you the data type which are generally used in MATLAB. Okay. Categorical, string to categorical. Conversion from character array not supported. First, convert the character array into a cell field character using the cell str. Okay. So I have to use this command in order to convert into a categorical data type. Yeah, now it is working fine. Okay. And here I'll run clear command in order to remove all the variables which are there in the RAM. And now I will take a who command so that MATLAB will show us what are the variable involved and what are their data type with a whose command. Okay, so now the first one variable which we have used is a variable which was assigned a particular definite value which was integer in nature. So generally MATLAB, what happened, like unlike the other software like Python, or if you take R language, then they will store it into a kind of an integer variable. But here MATLAB treat all the integer variable into a double format so that you don't have to worry about the float or the decimal operation, which you maybe later on you might perform on that. Okay, so here double class takes account of all integer and float data type. Okay, then we have another B and C variable where in B I have kept more than one character. Okay, so in MATLAB both B and C will be treated as a character data type. Okay, the key which also contain the same, like you can see here, that K also contain the same word as J, which is there in B, but B and K data type are different in nature. Okay, here K is called an categorical data, which represents a class. Okay, like in India, if we talk about the people living in the states, so here state will act as a categorical. Okay, so the people of UP will have a different behavior or their walking style or their talking way. Okay, the people of Tamil Nadu will have a different way of behavior, their walking and the tone by which they speak. Okay, so these all characteristic feature are related to a particular class that is represented by state here. Okay, so that one we account in a categorical data type, which generally represent a class or a general section name. Okay, then we have yeah, the value of M, which we can see again it is taking double. So you can see here there is no difference in a data type of A and a data type of M. Though in Python you will, if you compare, then it will put A in a int and it won't allow you any decimal operation. It will throw you some error, or you might have to convert it into some other format before using it into a kind of a float operation. But here in MATLAB, there is no problem. It put into a general name, which most of the time work better. Okay. And now, if you look at towards the 54, 55, and 56 line code, then you will find a new thing. Here, wind, you will see it is a kind of a structure. So the good thing with structure is that it is a special data type which can store number also in itself, and it can store the string information also in itself. Okay. So when I executed line number 54, the output was this, like wind is a structure having a field power which is having a value of 200. Then when I executed line number 55, it gives me that here wind again is a structure, but it contains two field, and both the field you can see here, they are containing number data only. Okay. But at line number 56, I have used a string data type or a character data type also to be stored into a particular field that is called company. Okay. So like we can use a structured type of data type in order where we have the information which contain some digital information. Say suppose a medical institute is there and they want to record every patient information in terms of name, age, sex, blood pressure, cholesterol level, and there are other medical parameters also. So that one they will list it down. So for them, the structure kind of a data field will be quite efficient, okay, then rather than using only just the Excel or CSV kind of a format, okay, or a tabular data type. So that one also I'll discuss. Okay. And the who command basically tells how many variable, like in this case, A, B, C, KM, this thing we have used, and wind. Okay, like you can see here, there is only one data type, wind. And because inside wind, it is the property, like the fields are its property. Okay, so these are only the data types which are stored into the RAM memory. And who command tells you like how much memory they are taking in RAM. Okay. Yeah. So I hope the data type concept is also clear. Okay. Sometime in MATLAB, whenever we write a program, we also think about the efficiency, or the program should be such that it should take least amount of time. Okay. So how to find that part, that I'm going to discuss right now. And after that, we will move towards the basic concept of the image processing. So see, okay. For I, say I is equal to 1 is to 10. Okay. And what I want to do, yi is equal to I square, where y is equal to dynamic array or a dynamic matrix. So this way I want to assign 10 values of y into this method. Okay. Same method I'll solve with the matrix method, and we will compare the result. So the command is TikTok. Okay, though it is banned, but this TikTok is different than the Chinese TikTok. So this TikTok gives you the time taken by MATLAB in order to compute the step, whatever is written between the TikTok block. Okay. So here we have written a very simple program which will store the square of number between 1 and 10 into a Y matrix. Okay, and now we will see how much time it is taking in order to compute this. Okay, so we can see here it takes 0.06 second in order to complete the entire task, right? Now if I use another piece of command, okay, where I will use matrix operation, then I'll show you how I can do. Say suppose x will go from, say, from 1 is to 10, and y is nothing, just x square. So x dot square. So whatever I have written using for loop, that same thing I can do with the matrix method. Okay. And this is the second block. So I'll put a comment here so that we can understand. And now I'll run this section and we can see easily the time difference. So here you can see the first step took nearly around 3 times more time than what it is taken by the matrix method. So the matrix method is only taking 0.11 second in order to evaluate the same thing. But if you are using a for loop, okay, then it is taking 0.03 second. Okay, so this also plays a very important role when you are dealing with a large amount of data where the data is more than in 10,000 number. So whatever algorithm you are writing, it can affect the overall time taken by the system to give you a good result. Okay. So this all concept will come into picture when we'll be dealing with those problems. Just for the basic understanding, I just showed you how you can work with these things, with these functions. Okay. Okay, now we will start with some little basics of image processing, just the theoretical understanding. And then in the second half session, we will continue with the hand-on session. So subplot we have covered. Okay. So the image which you are seeing in front of your screen, just focus on the parrot image, which is under the purple color rectangular box. So this is a similar kind of a image which we can take it from our camera, okay, or we can download it from internet. Okay. So in MATLAB, what happens? Whatever you pass, whether it is an image, video, audio, text, or other document, it will transform it into a kind of a numeric data or a digital file. Okay. And how it does that, what I'm going to explain in this slide. So basically what happened, whatever image we pass in MATLAB or in any computer programming language, that image is called as composite image. Why composite image? Because we know that composite means it is a sandwich of more than one type of layers. Okay. And here we know that any color we can form through the combination of 3 colors, which are 3 primary colors, that is red, green, and blue. So because any image taken from any device, it is made up of red layer, green layer, and blue layer. And all these layers, when sandwiched together, they form a colorful image. Okay. So that's why it is called a composite image. Okay. Now, once you pass the information into MATLAB quickly dissect it into its own constituent layers. Okay. So if we pass a parrot image, then for your visual understanding, I have shown how the red layer will look like, how the green layer will look like, how the blue layer will look like. But inside MATLAB, it will be seen like this, the outcome that is complete black and white. So the complete black and white form of red, which is, it is looking more whitish. Why? Because the parrot has more of its body color in red zone. So that's why it's most of the body color is looking red. And we know that white means it has perfect or exact highest value of red component also, blue component also, and green component also. So whenever there is white portion, it will be brighter in all the individual constituents layer. Okay. If you focus at the green layer, then if you look at to the black and white format of the green, you will see that the parrot body, the lower body, is looking more darker. Why? Because in red color, there is no portion of green component. Okay. But if you focus towards the leaf, okay, like where the parrot is sitting, okay, then you will see that the leaves are looking much brighter compared to the leaves in the red layer. Why? Because the leaves are green, there is no component of red, so it will be shown in dark. Okay, and the same thing applies with the blue layer also. So in blue layer, we can only see the eye portion of parrot to be white. Rest other everything is black, because the leaf also do not contain any blue portion, and the parrot body also do not contain any blue portion. So in MATLAB, it is seen like this. Okay, and the second example also I've discussed with the flower image, like the original flower was looking like this. When we feed into MATLAB dissect it into its own uh, three constituent layers. Okay, now each layer, as it is a black and white, so it means it is forming a two-dimensional matrix only. Okay, so by three layers we means that all these two layers are stacked one after another, so which is shown in the bigger picture here in the cat image. That if we pass a composite image, then in MATLAB the first two-dimensional matrix will be called as red layer matrix. After it, it is followed by another two-dimensional matrix which is called green layer, and that is again followed by with a third two-dimensional matrix which is called blue layer. Okay, now what information it contain? If we focus at particular small portion or pixel area, which in this image I have taken a small square, okay, and that square information is decoded in MATLAB as kind of a numbers. So because 99% of the time we only deal with 8-bit color, okay, just exception with the satellite image, which may contain 16-bit color, but for general everything purpose, whether it is cinematic or augmented reality or virtual reality or image, video, photography, whatever is there, we use only 8-bit color. Okay, so here 8-bit means yeah. So here 8-bit means that we have transistor which can have only 256 values, but because we are including 0, so the maximum value it can contain is 255 only. Okay, so any color can have or can attain maximum of 255 value, which will be shown as bright white, or if it is at 0, then it will be shown as black, or any gray scale will be can attain value in between 0 to 225. So here you are seeing that a particular small portion comes in a darker portion, so that's why the values of each layer are in the range of that 0 to 255 only. Okay, so this is our first red layer information, a red matrix. Then this is our green matrix, and this is our blue matrix. Okay, so it depends like what portion we are targeting. Okay, if it is more going close to the greenish part, then the value of the green zone will have higher value compared to the red layer information. Okay, so like that. Then after the post lunch, we will see like how we can perform basic algebra over an image. Okay, so here you can see that if we are subtracting some scalar unit, then we are just increasing the darkness. Similarly, if we add some scalar, it will bright the image. If we multiply it again, it will increase the brightness of the image. Okay, and then we will look towards the histogram plot of the image, which will tell the particular value of pixel or the color code, how much time it is being used in that image. So kind of a histogram plot of that, and the methods of color, like in what way we can decode the color information, that we're going to see in the post lunch session. Okay, so up to here, any doubts from participants? Discard. Okay. Can we have something to identify disease on plant life? Yes, yes. We can use image processing technique in order to like identify the disease of plants, like looking at to the deformation in the leaf pattern. Okay, like there are many types of deficiency also due to which the plant leaves deteriorate. So that one also, with the help of deep learning, that I'll be discussing in the perhaps the last session. I'll take that one into example and I'll show you how you can do it. Can we perform mediation and moderation analysis also in MATLAB? Yes, yes. Any type of analysis, if it is based on numerical computation, you can perform it. There is no restriction that this you cannot do in MATLAB if it is related to numerical techniques. Okay, any kind of numerical technique you can apply in MATLAB. Because the good thing in MATLAB is that if you don't have the feature in MATLAB, then MATLAB allow you to create that feature by your own and save it as a kind of a function which you can later use it. Okay, so this is very good thing. And already it has more than 75,000 functions. That function help us to accelerate our work or to complete our task in a much faster manner compared to the other things. Is QCurveFit different from the CF tool? Is QCurveFit? Let me check. Whenever is word is put, I think it is a kind of a condition that we have to check. Let me check because I haven't used this curve. Let me check. Help on is QCurveFit. Yeah. It is a non-linear least square solver. Okay. The problem is given. Okay. Find the exponential decay model that best fit the data with the parameter bounded. Okay. Okay, fine. Yeah, it has a good feature, the is QCurveFit, because it gives you one more feature that you can find out the best mathematical model in a particular range. Okay, that is not there in the curve fitting. It will going to find out in a non-range problem where you don't have to define the range explicitly. Okay. So here you can find out. So this is the good or unique feature which you can deploy with the is QCurveFit. Rest, everything is same. Both are a kind of optimization technique that they deploy. Okay, so optimization also maybe tomorrow we're going to see. And so two optimization basically we'll be seeing tomorrow. One is the genetic algorithm and the other one is the teacher learner based optimization. Okay, any other doubt? Can this work for infinite range? No. Obviously, I don't think because if they have given the range, then I don't think it will go for infinite. Rather, we can use some divergence or convergence model in order to solve. I visited this, but it shows account suspended. Okay, I'll check it because due to this lockdown, I too haven't checked about like what is going on the site. I'll check it. Can we fit a finite series to data? Finite series you want to fit to a data. Like example, can you put it on chat so that I can see it? Like what exactly you want to do? Not worked. What about the mediation analysis? Well, I haven't used mediation analysis, but if you can tell me like what exactly want, like what work you want to do it, I can then tell you like how you can move with mediation analysis. The retron.org. Yeah, I checked it. I have to renew it. Basically, I had to forget to renew it. So they have like the HostGator team has like shut down the website. So I'll renew it today. It will be live today only. So tomorrow onwards, you can visit the website. Not an issue. Can we fit us on its list? Yeah. Please let me know the short practical explanation of TradingView. Okay. See, like TradingView like site, there are many sites like investing.com also, where it gives you real-time stock related data into kind of a graphical notation. So like in TradeView, it gives you the pictorial or graphical view of the real-time stock, what is happening around the world. Okay. So with the help of MATLAB tool, you can like make a mathematical model which can help you in forecasting also the stock price, okay, or can give you a long-term trend also. So it will give you enough information through doing all this analysis for you to make a good decision, okay. Like I'll show you, there is one more site which is called investing.com. This is also a very good site because it gives you the data in Excel format. So we can easily import the data and we can do the analysis. So here, if I'm interested in the Europe versus USD, because right now we can see there is crisis in the dollar. So here I can import the data in Excel format using the historical data feature. Historical data, yeah. So like with this link, you can download the data in Excel format, okay. And with TradingView also you can do with image processing, so not an issue. Please let me know the short explanation. Okay. See, because why people because of this lockdown also, like there is a spike in the traders, okay, like because most of the people are sitting in home and they want some source of income. So many people are going towards the trading platform in order to raise their income, okay, because here you just have to predict, and if your prediction goes right, how much times the market goes in your direction, that much times you will increase your money. So it's a kind of that. Please share your yesterday recording. Yeah, that is there on the cloud. So today SIRT team will share the
Yes.
yesterday second half recording with you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I can chat you. मैंने chat पर भी आप लोगों को hello. Can I do audible?
Yeah, ma'am, you're audible.
Yeah.
Just be a
Yes.
little bit closer to your
Yes.
mic. Yeah.
Yes. Because of some lockdown problem, yesterday's session was in cloud.
Okay.
So I think so first week of August we'll provide you.